So I often like to drop into conversations how I've got a philosophy degree because I want people to think that I'm smart, that I'm wise, that I'm deep. And of course, doing a philosophy degree to some people is the definition of stupid because you can't get a job at the end of it. And also, I've got an undergraduate degree in art with a double major, and I went to university to study professional writing and editing because I wanted to be a fiction writer. And I ended up just enjoying Albert Camus and The Outsider when I was in high school. So that's why I went and did philosophy. And then I just ended up really enjoying philosophy. However, as a result of studying philosophy, I think that I have managed to be the sort of person where people think that I can not debate, but people think I can kind of hold my own logically in discussions, or at least I can exhaust them. And I thought I'd talk about that in this video, how yes, I'm an INFP, so there's this idea that INFPs are incapable of logic, but I think people also know that a lot of philosophers are INFPs, like Albert Camus, and even non-philosophers, but people sort of in the intellectual space, like George Orwell, people think of him as valuing facts, I suppose, because he was writing about a dystopia where 2 plus 2 equals 5, and that was quite scary to George Orwell. And so I think people realise that there's a side to INFPs where they are very concerned about these things, and doing philosophy was fantastic for me. Now, obviously there were a lot of INFPs studying philosophy and a lot of INFJs. It really is that sort of space. And that's one of the best things I think about studying philosophy is 3 years spent with personality types that I really like. It's so easy to make friends. It was just great. And just to be able to learn to train your brain to think in that philosophical way. And it looked so bad in class if people got overly passionate about anything. Like there were the occasional people who would get very upset at a philosopher or something they said. And there would always be an uncomfortable silence because I think most people studying philosophy were doing it out of the love of like acknowledging that they don't know everything. And these philosophers that we're all talking about were really smart, and it was kind of like respecting other people's ideas. And I think there's something great about philosophy where you're getting over your ego a little bit. When you're an INFP, you can have very strong emotional responses to certain concepts and ideas. And I suppose philosophy did temper that a little bit with me and just sort of taught me throughout life to try my best to stop and analyze. I've heard that when it comes to intuition, which, some people call intuition the opposite of facts. That's like sensor versus intuition in a way. If you're getting a hunch about something that can't be explained, but you just feel that something's right. And I think what you're supposed to do with intuition or those gut feelings is you're supposed to always stop and listen to them because they probably are telling you something big. So you're supposed to use your intuition to stop and analyze. So, you're going through life, you're going on a certain course, and then something tells you something's wrong. And you're not supposed to just listen to that voice and then go on a different path. You're supposed to just stop on that path and then look at what is causing you this hunch, and look at what's causing you this feeling, and just analyze it. You've got a hunch, so you're allowing your feelings or your intuition to guide you somewhere. You're allowing it to change your course potentially, but you've then got to apply, I guess, logic to it. Or you've got to apply some sort of reason. And then maybe through carefully dissecting this hunch, looking around, investigating further, you may actually find that it was nothing. It can be like, you heard something at night, but it was just the rustling of the leaves. But sometimes it could be that someone is breaking into your apartment to steal your goldfish. One of the goldfish, the one who was old school and shouldn't have faced such a horrible death. I was reading this book called The Master and His Emissary, and it's about the left and the right hemispheres of the brain, and the left side of the brain. I used to think that the left side of the brain is the scientific rational side and the right side of the brain is the emotional side, but that's actually not how it works at all. The left side of the brain tends to be more schizophrenic, and it tends to be more like purely sensory and just looking at data without any context. It's almost like you're hanging around with someone and they're your mum. And the left side of the brain's just like, they're just a human being. And the right side of the brain is the reasonable side, the emotional side that provides the context and tells you, no, this is my mum. So they're not just another person. I think that's one good way to describe it. So the problem with philosophy, like someone like Descartes, the French philosopher, is trying to apply a sort of scientific method to things that don't require it. It's like the idea of we can't explain scientifically what love is. We can't completely explain why you get a different emotion from a minor chord to a major chord when you're playing music. You can try and dismiss what laughter is. What is laughter? Laughter is just this sound that comes out and makes you have this sort of movement. That's all it is. Why are we making a big deal of laughter when all it is a sound coming from your mouth? And the writer of this book said, it's not really a good description of laughter. Laughter means something more. Same with love, right? We can try and talk about the chemicals of love, but it doesn't seem to get to the heart of what love is. But the great thing is philosophy is just about stopping and trying to analyze what these things are, I guess. I'm not giving a very good definition of what philosophy is, but it might be a way to look at it, and it might be a good way to look at it if you're like me and you kind of live your life in a very emotional state with a lot of hunches and strange intuition that you can't quite explain. Philosophy can really kind of balance you out a little bit and help you hold your own in a world that is too static in many ways and too rigid and too systemized, and people think that everything should be explained through raw statistics and raw science. Anyway, I didn't really manage to stay on track too much with this video, but let me know any thoughts you've had. Do you think it's actually detrimental? Maybe just by listening to me talk today, I've put you off philosophy forever. This is why I didn't do very well in final year of philosophy. I think I couldn't make coherent arguments. Let me know your thoughts in the comments and I'll catch you later.